Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Daria. I am a lawyer and academic based in Berlin. In this video, I'm going to be talking about top 5 things that I would do differently if I were applying for an LLM today. Let's dive in. Number 1 is that I wouldn't endlessly chase LLM personal statement samples. When I was applying for an LLM, I was just obsessed with trying to find really good samples of personal statements. The thing is, when I did find those samples, they were not helpful at all. I couldn't understand how someone got to the polished, perfect, edited personal statement that they published. And I just felt a lot of anxiety because I still didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to proceed. I didn't know anything about the process. That's a fundamental mistake that a lot of people make. They keep thinking that reading is going to help them write, but it's not, because you don't learn to write by reading. You learn to write by writing. And to write is a very different process. Reading is an act of consumption. Writing is an act of creation, and you need a process to be able to write a compelling personal statement. Thing number 2 I would do differently is I wouldn't try to force myself to write a coherent text from day one. The problem is we always see this cultural representation of writing where usually in a movie you would see a writer as someone who just sits down and writes, and they are tortured in the beginning, but at some point it is just start flowing. The thing is, filmmakers have a very different goal compared to writers. A filmmaker needs to present visually something that's going to translate to the audience, something that the audience is going to interpret the way the filmmaker wants the audience to interpret. That's why when they need to show a writer, they show someone who just sits down and writes, and it looks very easy. But it doesn't happen like this in real life. In real life, a lot needs to happen before you come up with coherent text. When I was applying for an LLM, I wasted so much time and effort just trying to produce something very perfect immediately and in a sequential manner, where I thought I would start with a perfect beginning, and then I would have a perfect middle, and then I would end with a perfect ending. If I were doing this now, I would just let go of that false idea of writing. What I do is I would spend a lot of time generating ideas, and I would just generate as many ideas as possible. I would work for quantity, not quality. And then I would select ideas. Here I would be ruthless. I would discard 95% of what I generated, and I would only leave what is absolutely essential. Then I would play with those ideas and try arranging them in different order until I came up with the order that worked for the essay. Then I would write a first draft, and I wouldn't try to write a perfect draft. I would just write a draft, the goal of which would be to provide me with a feeling of psychological safety. But now that I have a draft, I can finally let go of the fear that I'm sitting here in front of the blank screen and nothing comes. Then I would edit it endlessly until I'm ready to submit. This process doesn't change if you involve AI. You still need to do the thinking. AI is a great assistant, but it's not good with ideation, at least not at the stage that we are at. Thing number 3 that I would do differently is that I wouldn't try to answer the essay prompt literally. Instead, I would think about the bigger picture of my life and how this degree I'm applying for fits into that picture, and I would talk about that in my essay. I've seen so many essays where applicants start something like, my reasons for applying for this degree are twofold. So they're trying very hard to answer the question directly. The problem with this approach is that it results in a superficial essay, because what the structure makes you do is that you would often follow up with saying how the courses are particularly interesting to you, or how particular features of the program are appealing to you. And most applicants will do that. But more importantly, this is not going to help the admissions committee understand what differentiates you. And what differentiates you is your background, because your background is an answer why you are interested in what you're interested in. It is an answer to why you have the values you have, or what drives you, and what goals you have for the future. When I just started with my LLM applications, I really tried hard to answer those questions directly because I wanted to be a good student. I wanted to show that I listened, but I felt stuck and nothing I produced felt either accurate or sufficiently reflective of what I actually wanted to say. I only started seeing progress when I let go of those direct answers and I just told the story of how I came to believe that my role as a lawyer is what I believe it to be and what I want to do with it. Thing number 4 that I would do differently is that I would outline my essay. For many of you, this idea of outlining probably sounds unfamiliar. It definitely was unfamiliar. What outlining means is it means essentially planning your essay before you write it. And I cannot tell you how much effort I wasted with essays before I actually started outlining them. What happens, when you write an essay, it often feels so torturous that you just want to skip as many stages as possible to get to the end. But very often, you just end up wasting more time and effort. And so, outlining or essentially creating a skeleton or a plan for your essay is going to save you a lot of effort. When you outline, you think through the structure of your essay and the order of your ideas and experiences. What it does that it helps you see what ideas should come first, because for instance they need to set up the stage for ideas that come next. What ideas should come last, what ideas are good in the beginning, what ideas are good in the middle, what ideas are good at the end. It also helps you see what is redundant, what is not needed, and just overall makes for a better writing process. Finally, number 5 that I would do differently is I would not use quotes. Coming from me, it's a very strong statement. I love quotes. I have a really weak spot for quotes. The problem with quotes is, first of all, they are overused. The admissions committees see them so often that quotes lose meaning. Another problem with quotes is that they take up valuable space. In an application letter, such as a motivation letter or personal statement, you have so little of it. You can use it to showcase your own writing and thinking. I know this impulse when you feel like the other person just said it so well and you feel like none of your words just can quite match it. I really can relate to this. I've been there. And it's been really a struggle and a learning curve to just let go of this over-identification with thoughts of other people. I wouldn't use a quote if I were writing a motivation letter now. That's it. I hope it's been helpful and I wish you best of luck.